Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. If we can take our seats, please. Boys, find your house. Hats off. We're going to get underway in about 30 seconds. I must pass on a comment that Mr. Fulliger said of how great it was to be walking around today, just while boys were waiting, not all being on their mobile phones, but in fact having a conversation with each other, and how good that was. A little bit more on that topic later today. Mr. Fulliger and the college leadership team, to the staff here today, to all of the parents and friends watching online, and Nudgee men, we're averaging about 800 people watching our college assembly each week online. Your parents and grandparents, old boys, always interested in what's going on at Nudgee. To everyone online today, you are very, very welcome. But most importantly, Nudgee men, welcome to you for our college assembly this week. We're going to hear a little bit today about era for change and social justice activities at Nudgee. We're going to hear about GPS music and other interesting things from the performing arts, amongst words of wisdom from Mr. Fulliger, and then looking at the week ahead. Gentlemen, before I begin today, just an early notice for you now. We will actually be reconvening in here tomorrow morning. Now, year 7, we know that you're heading to camp. But gentlemen, everyone else, after a 10-minute PC, for you to drop off your things, get marked off by your teacher, we're heading back down into these spots again tomorrow for our very important Ash Wednesday ritual. More about that later, but if we can just lodge that now in our thinking. Gentlemen, we always gather as a Christian community, and I welcome our liturgy leaders to lead us in prayer today.
We acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples of Australia as the first Australians and traditional owners and custodians of this land. We are inspired and nurtured by their wisdom, spirituality, and experience. We commit ourselves to actively work alongside them for reconciliation and justice. In voice and action, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Amen.
We are about to enter a significant time in the Christian liturgical calendar, the season of Lent. Today we celebrate Shrove Tuesday. Shrove Tuesday is the day before Lent starts. The name Shrove comes from the Old Middle English word meaning shriven. This means to go to confession to say sorry for the wrong things you've done. Lent always starts on a Wednesday, so people went to confessions the day before. This became known as Shriven Tuesday and then Shrove Tuesday. The other name for this day, Pancake Day, comes from the Old English custom of using up all the fattening ingredients in the house before Lent, so that people were ready to fast during Lent. The fattening ingredients that most people had in their houses in those days were eggs and milk. A very simple recipe to use these up was to combine them with flour and make some pancakes.
Ash Wednesday is a Christian holiday of prayer and fasting. It is preceded by Shrove Tuesday and falls on the first day of Lent. Ash Wednesday comes from the ancient Jewish tradition of penance and fasting. The practice includes the wearing of ashes on the head. The ashes symbolize the dust from which God made us. As the priest applies the ashes to the person's forehead, he speaks the words, "Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return." Alternatively, the priest may speak the words, "Repent and believe in the gospel." Ashes also symbolize grief. In this case, grief that we have sinned and caused division from God. Lent is a time to reflect on our way of life, our relationship with God and with others. How can we be a better person to our friends and family? How can we be more compassionate to others? How can we be peacemakers in the playground? These are the sort of questions that we ask ourselves during the Lenten period, so that we can answer the call of Jesus, walk in the footsteps of Edmund Rice, and be a sign of faith to all.
Please bow your heads in prayer. God of peace, be with us this Lenten season. Guide us to be faithful to your teachings of peace. May the face of God be turned toward us. The hand of Christ be stretched out to hold us. And the Spirit be found as wisdom within us. Amen. Live Jesus in our hearts. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Good morning, Mr. Fulliger, special guests, staff, and my Nudgee brothers. Today is the official launch of Project Compassion 2021. The theme for Project Compassion 2021 is to be more. We are inspired by the quote from St. Oscar Romero, "Aspire not to have more, but to be more." Instead of aspiring to have more, we can focus on how we can be more kind, more green, more involved, more aware, more giving. This Lent, let us consider how we can be more for our neighbors around the world.
Our Change for Change initiative will start today and will run every day for the rest of the term during morning teen lunchtime. 2 or more students will stand outside the tuck shop with Project Compassion boxes, asking for any loose change you boys may have. Whether it be 50 cents or a gold coin donation, every little bit counts. In addition to this, there are also Project Compassion boxes found throughout many classrooms and offices. As Nudgee men, it is our duty to be signs of faith and stand with those marginalised and vulnerable in any way possible. So boys, I call on you to help support this initiative through donating and volunteering your time. If you're interested in signing up for Error for Change, please check the notices. Let us continue to be a sign of faith to all. Thank you.
Ayen tumda diti maiton.
In Myanmar, we Rohingya have always been victims of discrimination. But in 2017, the shootings started and our village were bombed and set on fire. Leaving everything, we fled for our lives. I walked for 6 days carrying my 8-month-old daughter Farida from Myanmar to Bangladesh. I cannot explain the mental agony of leaving my own country. When we arrived in Cox's Bazar refugee camp, we had no food, shelter, or drinking water. I was completely overwhelmed. Caritas identified me as extremely vulnerable, and I was given emergency food and shelter. My husband from an arranged marriage had abandoned me when I was 3 months pregnant, leaving me to bring up my daughter alone. I was determined to give Farida a bright future, but as a single parent, I was struggling to cope with life in the camp. Caritas' women-friendly space gave me trauma counseling and much-needed emotional support. Caritas staff took care of my daughter, so I could learn health, hygiene, and attend sewing classes to generate an income. I'm hoping to be a good tailor in the future. For the first time, I felt cared for, accepted, and that I could be more. It was like a ray of hope. Please give generously to Project Compassion today.
We grown now. You my only father and the only father I've ever known. And you so damn similar to me. I'm hearing me up in you every time you phone. So you know, just slow down. Only 59, got some life ahead of you, so just roll. Don't go down the same damn road you've been heading since mama let go. Now if I got you, then I know I got something. If we ain't got time, then we ain't got nothing. Ain't got hate, then we ain't got loving. If we ain't got each other, then we ain't got nothing. Yeah, if I got you, then I know I got something. If we ain't got time, then we ain't got nothing. Ain't got hate, then we ain't got loving. If we ain't got each other, then we ain't got nothing.
Each night in Brisbane, as many as 10,000 people will be sleeping in temporary housing or on the streets. To give hope to the marginalised, a quick chat or just a feed can make a big difference towards social justice. As an Edmund Rice School, members of the Nudgee community are encouraged to stand in solidarity with those who are less fortunate or socially excluded. Programs such as Big Recce in the Valley, Big Barbecue, and Scrabble and Chat inspirit empathy in Nudgee men. By striving for an inclusive community, building positive relationships, our compassion can bridge the gap between Nudgee and the wider community. It's that simple.
Good morning, Mr. Fulliger, colleagues and students. I'm delighted to be here this morning to officially launch the Social Justice Programme for 2021. For those of you who have been busy on the van already this term, that may seem like a strange thing to say. However, Assembly has been a bit busy recently. However, I am absolutely delighted that we are here this week. We have just watched a Caritas video of people in Myanmar and how we can help them with donating our money. We have now watched a fabulous video that Chad put together last year of how we can help the people in our local community. So gentlemen, what we do at Nudgee really has an impact in a wide variety of places and a wide variety of people. So for our new friends, a brief explanation of our programme. Social justice is integral to our life at Nudgee. Those of us lucky enough to have been given the golden ticket have a responsibility to give back to those in society where luck has simply passed them by. We are called by the EREA Charter to promote participation in service and solidarity learning programmes in partnership with those on the margins. It is, quite simply, the right thing to do. Now, some of you may remember the importance I place on smiles and kindness. Sadly, last year, these stopped us showing those smiles as much as we would have liked. And oh, how they were missed. Let's hope these are gone and those smiles are back. My invitation to you this morning is to come and join us all to help carry on spreading those smiles. And this is how it's done. As you saw from our introductory video, we have a wide and varied programme which is accessible to all students in years 7 to 12. Years 5 and 6, Kobe and Sione are working with you on your own special projects where I know we'll see lots of smiles. But for years 7 to 12, Big Brekkie happens on Tuesday mornings from 5:50 a.m. to 8:15 a.m. We travel from the college to the valley, collecting some Rita's girls on the way, where we cook a barbecue breakfast for the homeless. Big Barbecue happens on Tuesday afternoons from 4:45 to 6:45, where we cook yet another barbecue, this time in Aspley. The Ecumenical Coffee Brigade, and to keep things simple, we call this making sandwiches, is accessible to years 7 to 9. Twice a term, we leave the college at 5:35 a.m. to go to Spring Hill to make sandwiches, which then go out to the homeless the next day. We return in time for PC. This event isn't supposed to be a competition, but it always seems to end up that way. Scrabble and Chat is accessible to day students in years 7 to 9. Boarders, we've got another one for you. Day students, you leave the college at 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon to play board games with residents of Mercy Aged Care in Banyo. We are starting up a partnership with Viridian, just behind us where we're sitting today. This will be accessible to boarders in years 7 to 9. Mr. Campbell will fill you in on what's needed here and how you can take part. And very sincere thanks to Mr. Campbell and the O'Brien Boarding House for taking on this programme. Still to come, we have another activity for year 9, which will come online in semester 2. So what do all these things have in common? Except smiling, of course. You can sign up for all of them, except Viridian, on the NC Solidarity team app, which I'm hoping there will be a slide coming up there. Find this on team app, ask for access, and off you go. Please, can you sign on, not Mum? It gets rather confusing when I get Mum's name on the app and not yours. Please ask someone in your PC if you don't know how to make this happen, and please use the app, not emails. Now, Nudgee, we have a problem. In the last 3 weeks, we have had 101 people signing on for Brekkie and Barbie, and we've had 48 places. A great problem to have, but a problem nonetheless. My very sincere thanks to all of you for persevering. I'm trying extremely hard to keep this equitable and giving everyone a chance. However, I do realise this isn't ideal. So we're attempting to find another venue for another day so that more of us can come along and join in. Please watch this space and I'll be in touch. It would be very remiss of me not to take this opportunity to publicly thank all the staff who work tirelessly with us with all these programmes. They also have to get out of bed to be here at 5:30 in the morning, and they often don't get back until 7:30. In addition, our fabulous bus drivers deliver food from the kitchen to the Emmanuel City Mission in Brisbane each week. Without all of them, we would not be able to do any of this, so a very big thank you. Our van was off the road over the holidays, and so we were not able to take students out with us. However, our fabulous kitchen staff made burgers to die for, which were delivered twice a week by some extraordinary staff. Thank you to you all. So, my challenge to you, find Team App and sign up for NC Solidarity. You sign up. If you don't know how to do this, then ask someone from your PC. All the details for the activities are on the app, so read it very carefully. Check at home that you can make your chosen day and time. You will be emailed by me the day before all activities to say whether or not you are going, so remember to check your emails. So sign up and come and help us spread more of those smiles. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Fulger, parents, teachers, guests, and my fellow Nudgee brothers. As you know, on Thursday last week, our talented musicians travelled to Brisbane Grammar School and the Griffith University Conservatorium to participate in the annual GPS Music Showcase. If you didn't know, this event is one of the only events in the GPS calendar that sees the 9 GPS schools collaborating together instead of versing against each other. Throughout the day, the boys work with amazing conductors and some of Brisbane's best young musicians, allowing them to access their full capability and play pieces they've never played before. A special mention goes out to Lachlan Barrett and Oliver Bryans for their incredible solos in the choir on the night. Yesterday lunchtime, we had our inaugural Inter-House Showcase draft, seeing the house prefects pick their themes for Showcase in Week 8 later this term. The system worked so that first place from last showcase got the last pick, and last place got the first pick. Out of the 20 themes, the houses selected: Tierney House, Heroes; McKenna House, Moving Forward; Duggan, Liberation; McGee, Home; Riley, Sport; Fogarty, Blast from the Past; Barrett, Resilience; Shaw, Brotherhood; and Ross, Community. These rehearsals will start next week under the direction of your prefects and house deans. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Fulliger, special guests, staff, and my fellow Nudgee brothers. This morning we have Jackson Mills and Will Rooston on stage for a Q&A about their cricket and volleyball season so far. I'll be starting off with Rooston first. So how's your team actually been going this season?
We've been pretty good. We went undefeated up until Saturday. Just lost that game, but it was a close game, and I reckon we'll come back next week.
Who'd you verse on the weekend?
We versed Toowoomba.
Can you give us a little overview of what happened in the game?
Pretty much we rocked up 2-hour bus trip. Everyone was a bit tired. One of our star players had a little back injury. Toowoomba was there to play, we weren't really there to play. It wasn't our day.
Yep. Millsy, how was the All-Stars game? Were there any highlights or special mentions for players?
I would say the launch on Friday was probably a good experience for us first boys to play against professional players. Some highlights would be Callum Russell with 3 wickets, Lachlan Mark with 45, and Nick Graham with his excellent fielding performance.
Yeah. Could you tell the difference between versing professionals compared to just playing normal Saturday rounds?
You could definitely tell with the performance of the players that were actually playing still. There was about 6 of them that were playing high class level compared to our Saturday game where they struggled a bit against our bowlers.
Rooston, have there been any highlight games this season in volleyball?
Round 2, we beat BBC for the first time in almost a decade. So that was pretty good for the school and for the first program.
Yeah, that's really good. Who's your toughest opponent going to be in the next couple of weeks?
We've got Terrace at home next 2 weeks. They're favourites to win. And so we're hoping that they beat Toowoomba, and I reckon we'll beat them at home and tie premiership.
Millsy, how are you boys tracking for the premiership in cricket?
Yeah, we've won 3 from 3 at the moment. We're on top of the table with 22 points. We've had 2 games, our first game and the game on the weekend where we won with the double bonus point against State High and BBC.
Awesome. What's your toughest game going to be that's coming up?
Our toughest 2 games, we've got Terrace in 2 weeks, and then probably our final 2 games, which are TSS and Ipswich to finish it off.
Awesome. Can we give these boys a round of applause? The GPS soccer season is in term 2. Normally half of Nudgee, which is around 750 boys, represent the school in close to 50 teams. This means there are opportunities for all boys from teams A to F. Boys are expected to attend all trainings and Saturday fixtures with trials to finalise teams at the end of term 1. To sign up, please see the NC Football Team app and follow the tab Sign On to Play. Our tennis pre-season is well underway, and if you haven't signed up yet, please go to the NC Tennis app and click Sign On as well. All boys are welcome, but we're looking particularly for boys in years 5 and 11. The Tennis Age Championship are on Friday, week 7 and 8, with the season launch in week 8. If you have any further questions regarding Term 2 sport, drop into the activities office. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, staff, to those parents and old boys and grandparents, family members who are watching it online in various places around the city and around the state, around the country perhaps. You're very, very welcome. And of course, Nudgee men. Morning, men. Boys, it's good to just have a pretty typical assembly where we could have everybody in the hall. The last couple of assemblies, obviously because of the size of what we had to do with parents being so keen to be here, we all couldn't gather as a student body, which is always something that we find hard, Mr. Todd particularly and myself, to reconcile, because the assembly is always about you. So thanks for your understanding and your patience in that, the way that you've been attentive. Even though you haven't been here, you've been in tutor groups and other places around the school, how you've engaged with those assemblies and those presentations. I thank you. So it's great to have Year 5 men here with us. Perhaps one of the first times for this assembly during the year, which is terrific. So, having said all that, what do I want to talk about today? You remember, boys, from the opening Mass, Father Dylan spoke about the field of dreams. I made mention of that last week. Today I want to talk about our own field of dreams. The flats. This Friday afternoon, there's going to be a small gathering. And at that small gathering around 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon down on the flats, we're going to bless and recommission that sporting complex. Who will be there? There'll be some Year 12, some of the senior leaders in a variety of contexts who will be there. Parents who are involved with some of the parent support groups who have been great allies with us in the sports and activities program. Key staff in the activities program will be there as well. Some of the consultants, the builders who help construct those ovals and the dams and the roads and the facilities, the nets that are going in there. The engineers who designed it, the architects who conceived of it, all will be there. And while it's only a small occasion in terms of the number, its importance is very, very significant in my mind. Why? Because the flats is where the majority of you play your sport, your cricket, your football, your rugby, and in due course your cross country. When we finish that course, that is there. As boys know, particularly in Year 7 through to Year 12, we played on those flats. Year 6 didn't get much of a go last year, and Year 5 yet to play on those flats. Boys, that's your field of dreams, where the majority, hundreds of you have played over the weekend. We're going to take that catch, you're going to hit that shot, make the tackle, score the try, score the goal, whatever it may be. They'll be your memories for yourself and your parents, your family members who are there, come down in hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of a weekend during football and rugby season. The memories you're going to share with those boys who you put that blue and white jersey on when you represent the college in whatever team you're in. So it's always been a struggle for me that those fields haven't been the way they potentially could be. So we've recommissioned them. Those of you who know old boys who were here, maybe your brothers who went before you, your dads or your grandparents, they talk about their days back on the flats and their memories of what happened on those ovals. And they'll be the things that you as old boys will share with your mates from those teams in years to come. But boys, the flats as we know them today, and you'll see them as you get onto those ovals in the weeks and months ahead, but even the flats that we played on up until the last couple of years were not the flats as they've always been. Back in the 1950s, the headmaster at the time, Brother O'Connor, he recommissioned the flats. And so they established 7 fields down there. And they looked a little bit like they are today, but they were not nearly as extensive. And I think a photo went up there a little earlier of one of that image of around that time when they were first commissioned. It's the image on the left as you're looking at it. Is kind of where it was back in the 50s and you can see the shape and form of the fields of the flats as they were. But if you look to the right, you'll see another really crusty old black and white image of the flats. That takes us back even a little bit further in our history. And what I want to talk about today are 3 patriarchs of Nudgee. 3 patriarchs. What's patriarch? Patriarch is a forefather. It's a bit of a paternal expression. One of the fathers of Nudgee. If they could bring up the next photo. In the 50-year anniversary of the college in 1941, these gentlemen in those photos, Christian brothers, all of them, were called the patriarchs. Boys, our school today was built on those 5 men and many others who followed them. 3 of those brothers who were there. The brothers on either end and the brother second in on your left, Brother Ryan. There was Brother Ryan and 2 brothers Smith. They were called lay brothers. Now, we don't have any brothers here. You remember Pricey spoke on assembly a couple of weeks ago. He's a Christian brother. We were founded by the brothers. We don't have teaching brothers here, but that's what they did. They taught before we have teachers, good men and women teaching you today. Nudgee men were taught by Christian brothers. But sitting behind the brothers who taught in the classroom, and they're a bit of an unknown story of Nudgee's history, were what were called lay brothers. They didn't teach. What were they doing? They were working hard. They were hard-working men. They were doing the labour to get the school going. And when we talk about the 2 brothers, they were the brothers Patrick Smith. He was here in 1891 on the very first year of the college. And his brother Nicholas came the year after in 1892. So we are stretching right back to the very start of the college, boys, when we tell this story. Both of them were here for 37 years. Now, Mr. Staines, who works in property and services, has been here for 38 years, would be our longest serving staff member now. These 2 Christian brothers were hard-working men. They were lay brothers here for 37 years. So at the 50-year anniversary, they said that they were the fathers of the college, those 3 men, Brother Ryan and the Smiths. The Smiths in particular, Brother Ryan was sort of the smarts. He had the ideas and got them working, but the Smiths were the brothers who worked the hardest there. What stood out when I read their story, and I won't read it all, but I will read a little, were 2 things about them. One was their capacity for hard work. They were hard physical workers, and they accepted a huge challenge. Because again, the flats and this site and where we are today is not as it once was. If you could picture, if you go back those 130 years, you're thinking about scrubby bush. If you've been over the back of the school, towards the wetlands, towards the cattle club, over beyond where the old golf course was, if you walk in through, you wouldn't walk through those scrub. It's too harsh. It's too dense. Well, that's how Nudgee was, but it had to be cleared. Those ovals that you're on today, which are open space, had to be cleared, not by machines, but by hard labour, and the brothers were those. So they were epitomised by their hard work and their faith. What was also recognised is they were great prayers. So at 4 a.m, they'd find them in the chapel praying before they then went and did a hard day's work, and before then in the evening they were looking after the boys in boarding. And they repeated that day after day, year after year while they were here. So if we've got anything at this school today, it's because those brothers did what they did for us over 100 years ago. And so if I could read a little quote about some of those things that they said. what was said about them. The story's, where are we? In 1892, when Nicholas, now known as Brother Joachim, arrived, thick forest and scrub covered all the land at Nudgee. He was a giant of a man, and in true Nudgee tradition very quickly became known as Big Smithy. The zealous brothers, so Brother Ryan and the two Smith brothers, set to work and cleared what we know today as the flats. They sank wells. There was not water on a tap. They had to sink the wells. They erected fences, cleared lands, ploughed the land, and very soon smiling fields of corn, pineapples and bananas soon replaced the wild, impenetrable bush that greeted the first borders. Why did they grow corn, pineapples and bananas, boys? They were feeding the boarders in the dining room. So if the boarders worry about their food today, at least we're not growing it for you boys here. But once upon a time they did. There were brothers working hard, men working hard to grow the food that they then ate. So the brothers Smith and Brother Ryan were each very humble and pious men, but they were also men who knew how to physically work hard. Beneath the rugged and aesthetic exterior, very human qualities thrived. And it goes on to talk about them being the essence of Nudgee spirit. It's quick and easy to leap to the modern day to get an insight into the essence of the commodity bantered around from time to time called Nudgee spirit. These men evoked it. So back here, even the 1890s, early 1900s, these men are working hard. They're evoking that thing that you claim today, boys. These men evoked it, and the lads of the day and for 37s imbibed it and took it on as their own, as a badge of honour and mateship. We do that today. 10,000 brothers, Nudgee spirit. It's something that connects us and binds us. Their legacy to us today is intimately connected to the stories of these great men of Nudgee. And they were great men of faith and men of action. Men of prayer and put their trust in God, sign of faith. But they also worked hard. And we're not asking any of you to go down and clear the bush today, but we are expecting you to work academically hard. So having said all that, where are we at today? What are we celebrating? Some of you have been down on those fields for cricket training. Some of you have passed it in your mum or dad's car and you've looked over the beyond and say, oh, what's happening down there? And some of you haven't really seen the full extent. So in a moment, the magic of technology means we're going to play a video for a couple of minutes which gives you a bird's eye view almost of what is there. There's one little patch of dirt, the junior cricket fields that are yet to be developed. They'll be finished in a couple of weeks' time and we'll be on those fields at the end of the term, the start of next term. So Raoul, when you're ready, if you could play that video, I'd appreciate it. Pretty exciting. I think it would deserve a round of applause. So sit up, boys, please. So just by way of conclusion, so what is going to be there? There's 14 hectares of ovals. There'll be 6 cricket ovals, 10 full-size multi-purpose ovals for football and rugby, 28 practice pitches. There'll be a cross-country course or a number of cross-country courses there, and of course a new dam. It's not for swimming in, I'm afraid, boys. Underneath that beautiful turf that's there is state-of-the-art irrigation and drainage. In fact, it's the very, very best you could have in the school context. We have spent a lot to make it the way it is today. So the cricketers have played on it for now. Some of the senior cricketers have. In a due course, the rest of us will get that opportunity to use it during the season. So boys, it will be your field of dreams in 2021 and beyond. Opportunity for you to train and play hard and do your very, very best. So what's the legacy we expect of you? So it's not a case of going down there these ovals and thinking I'm entitled to the very best ovals. It's how you show your appreciation today for the work of all those people, going back to Brother Smith, to everyone who's been up until this moment. What is your legacy? What will you pass on to those boys that follow you? What will you share with the guys that you play with today? Being good stewards of those ovals and looking after them so they get cleaned up after we've finished and trained, after we've played of the weekend. That we enjoy the pleasure of being on those and share that joy with others. That we do be great competitors. One of the legacies of schools would know when they came down the flats they were going to get a game from Nudgee boys. And that should just still be part of our tradition. They're there for some hard competition. But you know what? They also know that you're the best of sportsmen. That you play with respect, that you are gracious in defeat, that you are humble in victory, that you show the very best to your opponents, to the spectators, to people from other schools, those people who come to the flats, that not only will the flats be a great place to play on, we will be great competitors to play against. They're going to get a game, but they're going to be treated with great respect. And we'll be the very best we can be before the game, during the game, and after the game. That they will know the pride of the blue and white. That's a given. Absolute given that you'll play with great pride, whatever that situation is in whatever sport and whatever game you find. You do your great honour to those who've worn that jersey before you, that blue and white jersey. That Nudgee spirit is part of that expression of the flats. Beyond a beautiful field on how it looks, if we've got great fields but we don't have Nudgee spirit, if we've got great fields and we're not good sportsmen, if we've got great fields and we can't treat others with respect, well, we wasted our money. So what I do also hope at the end of the day, that something about that spirit of the brothers, that sign of faith, it not only happens where Mrs. Kennedy and the boys spoke about before, out on Big Barbie and Big Brekkie, that when you wear that jersey and you play your sport or represent your school, that you are also a sign of faith before the game and after the game. And then, and only then, we will know every one of those cents will have been well spent. I look forward to being the story, boys. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fulliger, and particularly for all of your energy, sir, in making the Flats project happen. Gentlemen, want to offer my congratulations to you. 2 weeks ago today, I stood up here and announced to you our new mobile phone policy, and then went from here and communicated to your parents. Can I say that we have approached that change in policy terrifically well on the most part. We have accepted that policy and tried to work within it. So guys, just a reminder, what is our position? That our phones are not visible or seen during the day. That we're bringing our laptops to school and they're the things that we are using in classes, not our phones. Your phones are to be away, and that can be in lockers and bags and satchels and tidy boxes in the primary school and so on. Not to be out. I said to you back then, don't be surprised if you're off to the bathroom, and we want to limit that as much as possible. We want to go to the bathroom on break times. But if we did need to go to the bathroom, your teacher would be well within their rights just to ask you to put the phone on the desk. We've done that pretty well. Guys, some of us have used Apple Pay or the equivalent on Android at the tuck shop. Increasingly, that's a thing, and that's okay. Boys have used to and from school. So there's probably a little bit of an area there where some of us are here early, maybe as early as 7:15 or 7:30. Make sure, and I understand, guys, that when we're sitting there, we might be using our phone for a while, but well and truly away by 8 o'clock. Guys, as I said, a number of us still need to use those for classes, art, construction, HPE, science and drama and so on. And under the direction of your teacher, that's okay. So what do we want? We want you in classes learning, not on your phones. We want you just sitting around talking to each other and in different spaces, not on mobiles. We certainly wanted to limit videos and pictures being taken, particularly of inappropriate things. We want to have some device-free time. So, gents, we've done that, again, on the most part, particularly well. I would highlight just a couple of areas now. So, we're getting about 4 or 5 phones confiscated per day. Now, we would like that to go back to 0. It's been 2 weeks. It's a change of culture. We've approached that pretty well. With 1,700 boys, 4 or 5 phones per day is not a lot, but we would like it to be fewer. Guys, I would hate to have to do what is just standard practice at some other places, but we didn't feel it quite fitted Nudgee 2 weeks ago. That is, when the phone gets taken on one hand, the detention gets issued with the other. We didn't want to do that. We don't feel we need to do that just yet, but that option sits there if we have to keep taking phones off people. Probably a nuance for us for grade 11 and 12. Gents, you know that the rule is slightly different, but the spirit of the rule is the same. That is that phones really aren't seen, and we're not sitting around for long periods on our phone. We can check our calendar in grade 11 and 12. We can check a quick message that we might need to respond to, effectively a quick look. But boys, if we're sitting there for minutes and minutes and minutes, the policy does apply to us. So a couple of examples last week when challenged by teachers doing the right thing, boys responded by, "No, sir or miss, the rule doesn't apply to me. I'm in grade 11 or 12. Those boys have missed the point. And so I restate that today, and I would hate to have a re-education program with any of those lads individually. So, gents, well done on how we have approached that. I can tell you that in sending the email to your mums and dads on the first day 2 weeks ago, I have got more positive responses for parents than anything that I have ever emailed to them. So I feel we have strong support by mums and dads. Gentlemen, the week ahead, we wish all the best to our grade 7 men as they head off on camp tomorrow. I thank the Year 11 students who have volunteered to go up on Wednesday night and Thursday night to mentor those Year 7 men. I thank the teachers and the house deans for their involvement there. Gents, as I said first thing this morning, tomorrow morning after a 10-minute PC, we are back in our house areas for a special day, of course a start to Lent in Ash Wednesday. We wish our Year 12s all the very best with their IA1, which is coming up over the coming days. And we are on a GPS buy this weekend, but there is still things happening. And so if you are competing for Nudgee this weekend, we wish you all the very best. Now, to lead us in 3 cheers today is Lachlan Mark. Thank you, Lachlan. Gentlemen, let's be upstanding for the school song. And let's be in great voice. Thanks, gents. Year 12s are reminded of their committee meetings at lunchtime today at the top of the Learning Centre. Boys, period 2 will commence in 5 minutes. Period 2 will commence in 5 minutes. Have a good day. Let's head off.